So we've got our frame up, we're all happy with that, everything's looking great, we're really pleased with it, we've worked it all out. We're now ready for the important bit, and that's putting your lights on. Now, as we mentioned in the literature and on the website, we don't force you to buy our lights. We don't do that because we feel as most people have got their own lights that they can utilise, or you want different colours than what are available from us. So we don't even go down. Frames is our thing. We don't do the lights. The lights you can get from wherever you want, or use what you've already got. But the important thing is you have to get it right, because if you don't get it right, then it just doesn't work. Okay, now there's two different types of lighting. There's the main lighting, which is the typical Christmas tree type lighting that you would get, your LED lights that take this format. So basically, you know the sort of thing. I'll have to unwind this while I'm talking. They have a spacing of anywhere between 10 centimeters and 2.5 centimeters, and even tighter than that on cluster lights. But cluster lights can be quite expensive, so we tend to use either a standard type of Christmas tree light, or one that's actually specifically got a tighter spacing, if you like. Now then, these ones have a 2.5 centimeter spacing, and we find these are the best because what these do is they give you enough lights in a short distance to get a good effect. The more spaced out the lights are, i.e. the bigger the gap between the two different LEDs, the more cable you're going to have to put on. So if we go for something that's more sort of like the older type of light, they tended to be somewhere in the region of around about anywhere from 7.5 to 10 centimeter spacing. So that would be your typical spacing there. If you look at that, that's about a 7.5. So as you can see, on this 2.5, you're getting like 3 times the amount of light per few centimeters. It means then that that spool there, if you like, that ball of lights there, is 1,000 lights, and that's our standard sort of rule of thumb, if you like. So we've got 1,000 lights, and it's a 25 meter, and it's a nice manageable size. You can get kits up to 3,000 lights and 75 or 100 meters long, and if you use them, fine, they'll still work, but it just makes the job harder for you, because when you come to actually doing the frame and you've clipped your lights on and you're starting to pass it around, if the ball's twice the size, it's just a harder job. Also, on some of the designs, like the arches and the tunnels, what you're going to do is you're going to clamp up, and then you're going to throw the ball over the top to get to the other side, clamp that side, throw it back over. So this is ideal. But having said that, you can't always get the colour you want in that spacing, that 2.5 spacing. So your more traditional ones, like with the longer spacing, there's lots of colours available, and they are cheaper as well. So you can use both, but bear in mind that if you use these more spaced out, you're going to need more length. It's all explained on the website. Right, then we have a third type of lighting, and we found this is important. We call it line out. Now what this is ribbon lighting. Basically, it's not the sort of stuff that you put under your kitchen cabinets, and it's got sticky stuff on the back that you can stick it under the cabinets, and it illuminates, and you have a remote control and all that sort of stuff. What this is it's designed, it's a Christmas product, and it's a similar product in the sense that it's a ribbon, but as you can see, the actual LED is encapsulated within it. It's not sticking out to the side. Now what that does is it gives a cleaner line, and what you tend to do, well, you always do with a ribbon light, is you would fit, let me just get a pole, you would fit it onto the pole like that, clamp it on using your clamps. Yeah, you clamp it onto your pole and you keep it in the straight line of the pole, and this is why we call it line out, because you're actually lining out your whatever you've actually made. Now by doing it that way, okay, what happens is that you actually end up with a cleaner line, where you've got, if you started to wrap that, for example, rather than just clamping it straight, you sometimes the odd light might be hidden behind the pole, and it causes a blank space, if you like. If you haven't got that and you can't get this ribbon type lighting, then you should be able to, because it's widely available, and you use just a different colour, a brighter colour in the normal lighting, this type of stuff, then it's going to be a more fuzzy line. So for a more defined line, and you'll see this in particular on things like the Santa's sleigh that we do on the website, it's great. So if you've got red lights on this side, green lights on this side, and this down the middle, it defines that shape. And one, that's 35 meters, because this rolls up really small. So 35 meters will do just about everything for what you would need on any of the sculptures that we do. So you only want one set. It's about £25. You can buy them on Amazon, eBay, or any of the Festive Lights sites. This particular one is 35 meters long, and it's got 1,000 lights in. So that's when we refer to line out lighting, that's what it actually is. Now a few more points about the lighting and the fixing of the lighting. Then you're wrapping it around, and if you do it in a messy way, it'll look messy. If you just take your time and do it neatly, it'll look much better. But bearing in mind, you haven't got to be pedantic about it. Putting the lights on takes as long, if not longer, than making the framework, because you've got to really think about it and just take your time. So be prepared for that. I will do another video with the spacing of the lights and how we put them onto the framework, although it's pretty obvious sort of stuff. But I want to just fast forward now and get to the point where we're taking them off. And the clips that we've got, which are these ones, you've got them in the kit, you'll see them. You've seen the sort of thing in the automotive world. Basically, they've got a serrated section there, it clips in, and then that tightens down. Now this is made of a specific material that we had, which wasn't too tight, wasn't too hard, was reusable, but it was made to an exact size that would hold, as it does here, as you can see, nice and tightly onto the pole, the cable. Now if I just take that, just get a little pole, if I take that and that's fully clamped up and put it on, you can see that without the cable it doesn't work. If you have clips bigger than that, it doesn't work. It's designed to take one cable. Don't try putting two cables in, because if you try putting two cables in, it just makes life harder for you. When you come to take it off, and bearing in mind this is likely to be something that you're doing, it's 3 degrees outside, or 1 degree, or freezing, and it's January, and you'd sooner be inside having a cup of tea. Well, basically your hands are going to be cold and so on and so forth. Now you can take these off by hand. The way you take them, the way you break them down, is once they're clipped in, you can't pull them out like that. They have to go sideways. If you pull them out sideways, it's obvious really, them little slots that are in it basically slide out. They have to come out sideways. So you can do it by hand, but trust me, when you've done 350 of them, your fingers are sore and you're wishing you hadn't started the job in the first place. And that's why we include the small set of mini pliers, because what that does is that just makes it a really quick job to pull it off like that. It's as simple as that. So that's something about putting the clips on and taking the clips off. Now I want to just go back now to one or two important tips for you when it comes to your actual lights. You'll see that I've got these lights rolled up in balls. Now when you get lights, when you get brand new lights, they come, depends on where you get them from, but they'll come in this weird all uniform machine folded situation. I've been doing this for so many years now that I've learnt the hard way, by breaking lights, by ruining lights, by spending hours and hours and hours untangling them. You can make your lights last for many, many seasons if you look after them and take a little bit of time. Now what that means is that if you do get a tangle, let's just imagine that was a tangle, don't start pulling at it. Don't start pulling at tangles, because all you're going to do is make it worse. You know, you're just tightening up the knots, and you're going to start blowing these off and breaking them, and that'll end up with your lights failing. So what we need to do in all circumstances, just bear with me just 1 second. whenever you are putting lights on or taking lights off, always do it with them switched on. It's not going to hurt you. They're low voltage. Nothing's going to, you'd have the bare white, it's just not going to hurt you. Always have the lights on. And the reason I say that is, one, you can see where you've been with it when you're putting them on, and two, you need to know they're working before you spend all that time putting them on. And if you do find they go off part way through, it's either because someone switched them off at the mains or you just broke it. But you'll know where you've done it. Have them on. It doesn't hurt to have them on. Have them on when you take them off. Exactly the same. Right. So you've got your ball of lights, yeah, that you, or your tangle of lights. If you get a tangle, then what you want to do is, not, like I say, don't pull at it, but let the light, drop the lights to the floor, hold it loosely in your hand like that, and let the lights unravel themselves. And if they don't and it comes up in a net, just shake them. Just shake them, shake them, shake them. And all the time at this end, you're forming a new ball. So if it comes to the point where you shook them, and it's still knotted up, the ball will pass through whatever the knot is. But you've got to keep that loose. So don't start pulling them tight, because all you're doing is making the job worse. So now, when you're storing your lights, always store them in a way that they're ready for next year. So as you can see here, these lights are stored, and I've got the mains connection on the outside. That means I can plug them in and I can switch them on, and I can do that. I can't do that if I've wrapped the mains connection on the inside. So the inside of that needs to be the open end, the last end of the lit length. So always do it that way. Now then, one other tip, and this is super important. When you're dressing lights onto a framework like this, and you might have 10 or 12 or 15 sets of lights on there, it's great when you put them on. When you come to take them off, in 6 weeks after you put them on, it's like, oh, hang on, where do I start? Okay, where's the end? Because what you want to do when you start wrapping this ball up, like I've just said, you want the last lit light to be the start of your ball that you start to wrap around your hand. You've got to find that last lit light. In order to find that last lit light, it's dead simple. Get something like a cable tie or a little tag or anything that you can see, and connect it to the last lit light, so that when you come to look at it in January, when you're taking your lights down, you can see there's an end. Take that off and you start to follow in reverse the way that you put it all on. And what that'll mean is you're rolling your lights in the correct way, and by the time you've finished, you get to the power connector end, and you're ready for next year.